Today's shout out is for Zuldinga. Urabrask versus Urza. And that is a slow start, so I'm mulliganing that one. Okay, Sol Ring makes that really good, so get rid of the Faithless Looting there, I think. We really want to be getting into lots of cantrips and stuff in this deck. Draw into Fast and Furious. So let's go for a turn 1 Sol Ring. Ready for our commander on turn 2. It's the authority of the consoles, so if we manage to get haste on the go, then it's not going to be of much use to us. And there is a small mana generator in Strike It Rich. So mounting into our commander. And we gain our opponent a life there. So life gain against this deck isn't going to be the best thing for us. But I don't think we're anywhere near storming off here anyway. The whole point in this deck is to get lots of cantrips, lots of mana generators, and just keep playing spells and keep playing spells and into things like Gutter Snipe and Torbran and our commander. Hopefully it will whittle our opponent's life total down. A Goldmere from our opponent. Okay, a Past in Flames will be good later on. I think we just continue to set up here, get down the tap land into the Gutter Snipe, and then we'll go for... Do we get to do this next turn? Yeah, until the end of your next turn, so I think we're best going for that here. Let's swing in with the Urabrask, because they're not going to block that here. And that allows us into a 1 mana, light up the stage because we've dealt damage to our opponent. 1 damage onto our opponent with the Urabrask, and 2 damage with the Gutter Snipe. We will make a mana with the Urabrask as well. And then we're exiling the top cards, Cleansing Wildfire, and the Tormenting Voice. We can go Strike It Rich though, thanks to the mana. That will make us a treasure, and it will make us a mana from the Urabrask, so we can actually go for... Yeah, let's go for the Tormenting Voice here. And we'll get rid of the Past in Flames because that has flashback. Have 1 mana floating, draws us some more cards, and it is a Kessig Flame Breather. So, yeah, we are done there. Managed to deal a decent amount of damage to our opponent considering it's turn 3 and we haven't really stormed off here. It is thanks to the Sol Ring that we get to accelerate ahead, of course, but there we go, our opponent catches up with us using a Mana Crypt. And there's a Forsaken Monument, so that buffs up the Goldmere to a 3-3. Alright, a Jeweled Lotus for us is just going to add to the storm count. Drop a Mountain. Not sure if we're going to have our opponent scoop on us if we blow up a land with the Cleansing Wildfire. It's really in here for Urborgs and things like that. So let's get out the Flame Breather first of all. And then I think we're fine to get rid of the Jeweled Lotus. Make sure I'm casting the right one. Yeah, it is the Fast that we want. So generate a mana with the Urabrask. And that is 3 and 4 damage every time we cast an instant or sorcery here. And we draw 2 cards there, so a Warlord's Fury will pay for itself. So we can just cast that straight away. So that is 4 damage again, and like I said, replaces itself. Okay, Wheel of Fortune. We can't afford here, unfortunately. So let's just go for the other cantrip in Ancestral Anger. That is literally just in here to do what it's doing here. Deal damage to our opponent and instantly replace itself. So we've got them down to 18. Okay, an Ecthartic Reunion. We do not have 2 cards in hand to discard to that. And we can't afford the flashback on this. I think we've got our opponent here anyway, so let's go for the Cleansing Wildfire. It's a bit try-hard, but let's do it just to show the power of Urabrask. They've still got the white mana from the Goldmere. I never had any intention of removing that. Oh, actually, its controller can search for a basic. Alright, I don't feel as bad about doing it then. Never played with Cleansing Wildfire before, just using it for the cantrip really. Okay, and we draw into Unexpected Windfall, which is more card draw of course, so I'm going to leave that be and we will deal some more damage to our opponent. 7 damage here, so half of their life total. And by the end of turn 4 we've got them down to 7 life and 8 commander. Obviously there hasn't been too much interaction here. I'm not sure if this is a bit too powerful of a deck for our opponent. It's not exactly EDH or anything, but it is a high powered deck I would say. Alright, maybe not. They do have a Mox Opal, so gaining some life to the Forsaken Monument now as well. And they do have Metalcraft for the Mox Opal. Don't have any black mana though. They went for a forest or an island even with the basic from the wildfire. Oh, and of course I'm only just realising these are indestructible, aren't they? Yeah, I've literally just rampant growth my opponent with the cleansing wildfire because I targeted a land that is indestructible. Oh well, I felt bad for blowing it up anyway. Ah, and there is a farewell, so not getting rid of the artifacts. We do get to keep our soul ring. We do have our graveyard exiled though. So now we need to outrace the life gain. Okay, an arcane signet. We have to play out the commander here as opposed to the arcane signet first. And hope that our opponent doesn't have any means of counter magic. They do not. That gains them a life though. They are of course at risk of losing to the mana crypt now as well, the lower their life total goes. Dodging the bolt this time though. And there's a Liberator, Urza's Battle Thopter. Will allow them to cast artifacts at instant speed, or colourless spells at instant speed. Gained a couple of life as well from the Forsaken Monument, and now they have Unwinding Clocks. That's a nice engine. So they're gaining a decent amount of life. They go up to 14. Maybe haven't been quite fast enough. There's a Burgie, which will really help. I'll get that down straight away. So I want to hold off on the Wheel of Fortune for as long as possible now. Let's go Cathartic Reunion. Get rid of the Signet and the Windfall. That is free here because we'll get a mana from the Commander and from the Burgie. Gets us into Mizzix's Mastery. Seething Song is nice, so definitely play that. That effectively only costs us 1 mana. Gets us 5 mana on Resolution, plus 2 from the creatures. Reckless Impulse is free because it's a 2 mana spell. And you can keep an eye on the storm count over here, which is relevant just in case we get into a storm spell of any kind that is going to be, and speaking of which, an Ignite Memories, so we can't copy it with the Storm King's Thunder, unfortunately, but yeah, can go for Ignite Memories, I suppose, on our opponent. They've only got 2 cards in hand. We'll probably see both of them, but there might be a big spell in there. We get to swing in this turn as well, don't forget. Although it's up against a 4/5, thanks to the buff. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed for a couple of big spells in our opponent's hand here. Yeah, and they won't even show us. Scoop into that straight away. Ignite Memories is going to reveal a card at random and deal damage equal to the mana value. So if they scoop to that straight away, we've got a Storm count of 5, so we get some copies thanks to it having Storm. And I'm guessing that they have big spells in hand if they scoop that quickly. Urabrask versus Azuri this time with a Burgie in hand and means of card draw we will definitely keep. And it's a turn 1 Inkmoth Nexus from our opponent, so I'm guessing they're going to hit us with that next turn and start to get proliferating shenanigans on the go. Luckily we're trying to go pretty fast ourselves, so get down the Ancient Tomb on turn 1 will allow us into a Burgie, ready to start cantripping all of our spells. So yeah, our opponent is going for the Flying Infector, going to deal a point of Infect to us, ready for all the proliferate shenanigans, 2 of which can come off the Azuri if they can ramp that fast. Okay, there's an Accelerate, so get down a land here. I think I'm going to go for Light Up the Stage, ready for casting some stuff next turn. So we'll attack in at our opponent, and the Burgie gets us a mana on any spell, so we can go for Light Up the Stage first with Spectacle, and the mana will be replaced immediately, which allows us into a Lightning Bolt and a Mana Crypt. So not holding up mana Lightning Bolt on the Inkmoth Nexus, but we're making them tap out for that at least. Yeah, let's just go for our commander here. It's noteworthy that with our opponent dropping the Avamaya, we can tap down the Ancient Tomb for green mana and not take life. Yeah, we can generate mana with the Mana Crypt now, thanks to the Burgie, so we'll do that. Obviously Mana Crypt gets us mana as well. So we'll go for Accelerate, keep hold of as much of our red mana as possible, and that is free, like we saw in the last game, because it's a 2 mana spell and we've got both of these in play again somehow. And that cantrips. Now we have a Bolt Bend, which we won't be able to hold up during our opponent's turn. So let's go for the Electric Revelation, and we'll get rid of the Mountain, because I'm assuming that we're going to draw into more mountains. So we'll obviously draw 2 cards here, a Rite of Flame as well, so might as well cast that. I mean, if we can do a lot of damage on this turn, then I'm not going to say no to it. We have drawn into a land, So now we can Tormenting Voice, and we are netting mana. Get rid of a mountain again. Okay, and there's a Torbran. We've got Fast as well, discard and draw 2. So we can go for the Torbran there, because we'll get a mana from the Burgi, and that will still allow us to go for the Fast. So Fast triggers. The Urabrask is now dealing 3 damage to our opponent thanks to the Torbran. And we'll discard the Bolt Bend, seeing as how we can't hold it up anyway. There's a Shatterskull Smashing. The flashback on this is 4, so we can't go for that. We can Lightning Bolt on our opponent's face though, which we might as well to deal a bit more damage. And the Storm count's up to 10, so I'm wondering if we should have held off on this, although we weren't drawing into cards that were all that incredible anyway. So yeah, we'll just leave it there, I think. The Shatterskull Smashing might deal a bunch of damage. Can we even do this to opponents? It's creatures or planeswalkers, so we can't do that to opponents. That might just be discard fodder then. Got them down to 22 though on turn 3. Obviously we're fighting an uphill struggle here. I'm in the multiplayer room, and you start at 40 life there. It is the regular commander ban list though. Not doing too well on colours. They don't have their blue mana. That's a Makokoro. Will potentially help us if they're desperate to draw cards. And if they don't get down a creature here, we can swing in with these next turn and they'll all deal additional damage. We'll actually get an additional 6 damage through here. And now our opponent does something during our turn. That is a Beast Within onto our commander. So do we go for this in response? I think that's alright. I'll discard the Smashing in order to do it so that we can make a land this turn. Burgi does make mana that doesn't leave our mana pool. Steps and phases ends, so hopefully that will be of use to us, but we just get into lands. That's really annoying. We do have a draw step as well, but we've used up a lot of our mana here. Got a little bit more damage on our opponent though. So we're just going through to the draw step. We'll drop a land and yeah, there's a Blasphemous Act. That doesn't really help us. So throw out a mountain and we're just going to swing in at our opponent here. This is going to be 9 damage on our opponent thanks to getting that Torbran down. So they go down to 10. If we can get a decent draw next turn and get a few cantrips off the top of our library, then hopefully we'll be able to get some stuff done. It's going to be 6 mana to get down the Urabrask again. And there's an Evolution Sage, so maybe drop a land into that. And yeah, now they've got the blue mana available, they'll proliferate twice with that, putting us on 3 poison counters. But our opponent deciding to give it up there. Let's see what we were drawing into. Nope, the client isn't going to show us. We were just getting down our commander next turn and praying that we get into another cantrip effect or a burn effect, something like that. We were looking to deal another 9 points of damage plus 3, so 12, to our opponent next turn. So forcing them to block with the Evolution Sage. That could have had them get rid of the Burgi, but would have had them on only 3 life left. If they took the damage from this and then down to 2 with the Misty Rainforest, yeah, the writing's probably on the wall for them. So Urabrask is about as impressive as we thought it was going to be. Bear in mind we did have fast mana in these games and we did get into Burgi, which makes a massive difference as well, but we also struggled in this game in the end getting into the cards that we needed. And in the first game I made a couple of errors as well, but still managed to get it off on our opponent. Don't think that this would compete against really competitive decks, because we'd have to put much more interaction into the deck as opposed to just storming off. But it's a fun deck nonetheless. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Big thank you to the patrons for supporting the channel as ever. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.